Level 1. The Curious. You download Kali Linux at 2:17 am on a Tuesday. The ISO is 3.7 gigabytes. You watch a progress bar crawl while everyone else in your house sleeps. The tool is free. The knowledge is free. The door is open, and nobody told you it was open, and that single fact rewires something in your brain that will never go back. Your first target is your own home network. You run aircrack-nang against the Wi-Fi password your mother set in 2019. It cracks in 11 minutes. The password is Sunshine77. You sit with that, not the crack itself, but the realization underneath it, the wall was always made of paper. You just needed to know where to push. The forums become your school. Hack the box. Try hack me. Reddit threads 600 comments deep into TCP handshakes and ARP spoofing. You spend 43 hours on a single challenge, a deliberately vulnerable machine called Lame, until the root shell pops and you realize you haven't eaten since breakfast. You are somewhere else now. The person who existed before this download is already fading. Level 2. The Student. You find a mentor on Discord. He goes by NullDAX, 19 years old, living in Romania, already earning $8,400 through bug bounty programs. He doesn't teach kindness. He teaches precision. He sends you a CTF challenge with no instructions, just a URL, and says, report back in 72 hours with the flag, or don't report back at all. You get the flag in 58 hours. The vulnerability is server-side template injection in a Flask application, a class of bug you didn't know existed 6 weeks ago. Null0x responds with 3 words. Not bad. Continue. Python first, then C, then assembly. Because assembly is where software stops pretending and starts telling the truth. You read CV reports like bedtime stories. The vocabulary expands, and with it the world expands, and you realize you've been living inside a building your whole life without knowing about the basement. The sub-basement. The tunnel system beneath that. Your girlfriend of 2 years asks if you're okay. You say yes. You are not lying exactly. You are just describing a self that no longer fully exists. You file that somewhere it can't touch your momentum. Level 3. The Builder. Your first original vulnerability is a stored excess in a small e-commerce platform used by 14,000 merchants. You find it yourself, through patience, through manual testing, through 12 hours analyzing how the application handles user input in its product description field. The payload is 12 characters. It executes JavaScript in any browser that loads the page. You write a professional disclosure report instead of exploiting it. CVSS scoring, proof of concept, recommended remediation. The company responds in 9 days with a form letter. No bounty. No acknowledgement. The vulnerability gets patched without your name attached to anything. You expected to feel righteous. What you actually feel is the specific sourness of understanding that the system you just helped protect doesn't know you exist and doesn't care to. You build your own tools. A subdomain enumerator. A custom fuzzer. A Python script that automates the first 15 minutes of recon on any target. You run it through HackerOwn's bug bounty programs. A company pays you $2,200 for a critical SQL injection in their customer portal. The money arrives on a Friday afternoon. You stare at it. It is the first money you've earned doing something you would do anyway, for free, in the dark. Level 4. The Professional. You take a job at a penetration testing firm in Amsterdam. The salary is $72,000 per year. You sign NDAs for companies you've never heard of and spend 3 weeks trying to break into infrastructure they paid you to break. The only difference from before is a signed contract and a project code in a ticketing system. The first Red Team engagement targets a Dutch insurance company with 2,300 employees. You build a phishing campaign using a cloned Microsoft 365 login page hosted on a domain you aged for 3 weeks deliberately. You send 47 targeted emails. 11 employees click. 3 enter credentials. One of those 3 works in it. You have domain admin access within 96 hours. The client's CISO is in the debrief room when you walk him through the attack chain, and the color leaves his face at the phishing slide. You present the findings clinically. You do not enjoy his discomfort. That's what you tell yourself. Your colleague Peter, 9 years in the industry, drinks heavily at every team dinner. You've noticed this. You file it somewhere it can't touch your resolve. Level 5. The specialist. You leave the firm after 3 years. The reasons you give are personal development and new challenges, which are true in the way partial truths are true. The full truth is that something underneath the professional framework has started pulling toward the edge where the rules end. Nobody talks about this part. You publish CVEs. You present at DEF CON 31 in Las Vegas on bypassing endpoint detection through process hollowing in trusted Windows processes. The room holds 400 people. Afterward, a man in a gray hoodie hands you a card with nothing on it except a Proton mail address. You throw it away. 3 weeks later, you email the address anyway. The offer arrives in 40 minutes. $180,000 for 6 months of consulting, routed through 3 shell companies incorporated in Seychelles. The client wants access to a defense contractor's internal network in Virginia. The paperwork is engineered to look like a legitimate retainer. You sit with the offer for 11 days. You tell yourself you are analyzing the risk. What you are actually doing is waiting for the version of yourself that would say no to finish talking. You say yes. Level 6. The operator. The entry vector is a spear phishing campaign targeting 17 employees, built from 6 weeks of OSINT, LinkedIn profiles, conference bios, a divorce filing from 2021. That reveals one target's financial stress, and therefore his susceptibility. The payload rides inside a fake contract offer from a company you built to appear real. A website, a LinkedIn page, employees who exist in databases but not in offices. You have a foothold within 96 hours. The target is a financial controller named Daniel Marsh. You don't know Daniel Marsh. He is a username and a privilege level and a path to the systems you need. That is all he is. That's what you tell yourself. The lateral movement takes 11 weeks. You extract 340 gigabytes over 18 days, staged through compromised cloud storage accounts belonging to small businesses in 3 countries who will never know their accounts were used. The money arrives in 4 cryptocurrency wallets. The Zurich safety deposit box that holds the cold storage device does not exist in your name. There is no record of it. There never was. 42 days later, you read a Wall Street Journal article. A data breach at an unnamed defense contractor, believed state-sponsored. Employee data used in targeted approaches against cleared government personnel. A counterintelligence investigation underway. Daniel Marsh's name appears in a follow-up piece. Investigated, cleared, but his security clearance suspended for 14 months and counting. His career is likely finished. The financial stress you found in that divorce filing has multiplied into something you cannot calculate from the outside. You don't think about Daniel Marsh. You are very disciplined about this. Level 7. The ghost. You live in Lisbon now, in an apartment overlooking the Tagus River. You pay rent in cash, 20% above market. You have 4 passports, 1 legal, 3 constructed through document chains beginning in countries with loose verification systems. They are not for use. They are for options. The woman you've been seeing for 7 months knows you as a security consultant who travels occasionally. She attributes your privacy to introversion. You don't correct her, because the alternative ends the relationship and possibly ends your freedom. And you have learned to be honest with yourself about which things you're protecting and why. Some nights you think about a Munich hospital. 4 patients whose monitoring systems went offline for 6 hours during an active ransomware incident in 2023. You didn't deploy the ransomware. You were 3 organizations removed from the people who did. But the access you sold in 2021 became a template, and the template traveled. And somewhere in the chain it contributed to a capability that killed them. You cannot trace the causal chain completely enough to assign a number to your contribution. You can only know the chain existed and that you were in it. You file it. It doesn't stay filed. Level 8. The architect. Somewhere right now, a teenager is watching a terminal scroll passwords onto a screen. The password is something ordinary. A birthday, a pet's name, a year that meant something to someone. The teenager feels the electricity. They have no idea what the electricity costs compounded over 15 years. They have no idea how far down the tunnel goes, or that the tunnel doesn't end so much as it opens into a larger darkness that was always there, waiting for exactly this moment. For exactly this person. They will find out. The work continues. The wait stays. The cycle begins again.